Alright, so this is my Jutsu cards. So when you're deck building, obviously you want to play some Jutsus. I prefer not to. But there are some Jutsus that I do like. These are some of the ones that I like. But the ones that I do tech in to most of my decks so far is Night Attack. I only play these 2 copies. And as you can see, this Jutsu can be used even in your chakra area, which is the main reason I use it. If it didn't have that part of the effect, I wouldn't use it. It's not necessary without that effect. That effect is the reason I use it. So you pay two of any color chakra, target the user of the Jutsu. The user gets +2/+2. So that's very useful. You can target any ninja you want in your team in order to give that +2/+2. What's good about it giving not just power, combat power, but also giving support power, is that you can target one of your back ninjas and give it, an extra 2 support power. So that's always useful. So it's a really good card, inherently good. But there's a limit to that. It's only 2 power. If your opponent's team is still stronger, then it's pointless and whatnot. But as you can see, this can be played from your Jutsu area, and whenever you play a Jutsu card, after it resolves, it goes to your chakra area, unless stated otherwise by a card effect. Like you could put it in your hand if the card says put it in your hand after it resolves. So inherently, Jutsus will always go into your chakra area. So because of that, you can obviously reuse this over and over again, as long as you keep it in your chakra area. So far, as you can see, I prefer Jutsus that don't have specific chakra costs. Like they don't need a specific color, that they're generic. You can just splash them in any deck. That's what I prefer. But there are some Jutsus worth playing that are specific, because they're specific for a specific deck, and it would give the deck a lot of advantage, because that's why you're paying the specific cost, because it gives that deck that specific advantage. Here's another card. While you have no cards in your hand, and this card, then this card can be played from your chakra area. So by not having any cards in your hand, you could play this from your chakra area, just like the Night Attack card. So this one injures a ninja by the effect, as opposed to powering up a ninja. So that can be very useful. That's what you typically want, is either a Jutsu that injures a ninja or deals it damage. The thing is, a ninja that's already injured, you can't injure them. So playing a Jutsu that injures a ninja is pointless against a ninja that's already injured. But while a Jutsu that deals damage can deal damage to a ninja that is injured and causing that ninja to get discarded. So it's up to you what you like to use. Because if you use a card that deals damage, it will injure the ninja, which will give you the result you want, which is the ninja is injured. But sometimes there's ninjas that can't be dealt damage by a Jutsu or mission or ninja effect. So since they won't be able to be dealt damage, a Jutsu that deals damage will be useless against them. So then using a Jutsu that instead changes their status from healthy to injured can bypass that. But again, you can't injure something that's already injured. So unless it's through damage, whether it be battle or Jutsu, or an effect of a Jutsu mission or a ninja. So you want to try to incorporate both damage and injure status based effects. You also want to be able to defend against your ninjas getting damaged and injured by using effects to heal. So that's a defense. So as you can see, in a water deck, this will cost 1 water, 1 of anything. But in any other deck, it will require 3 of any chakra in order to use this. In order to use it from the chakra area, you have to have no cards in your hands. You always want to you typically want a Jutsu that has 2 chakra, that like only costs 2 chakra, or 1 preferably. Then 3 is considered a little expensive for a Jutsu, but if the Jutsu is very powerful, then it's worth it. It's more of a trump card, you know. Use it when you really need to use it. Don't get a Jutsu that requires you to pay 3, and all it does is give you +2/+2. Not necessary. There are other cards that can give you more power up for less chakra. So as you can see, this card costs 2 chakra of anything, of any color, but it has a requirement. Most cards do. You want to go for generic stuff. This is pretty generic because you need a printed cost, interest cost of 3 or more. So that's pretty generic. And then you target a ninja with an interest cost equal to or lower than that user, which would be 3 or less. So you target a ninja that's 3 or less if it was a 3 interest cost ninja. But if it's a 5, 6, 7, then it'll be 6 or less, obviously. Change the target to interest status. Now, if the user of this Jutsu has medicine combat attribute, then you can put this to your hand. So after paying 2 and using it, if your ninja happens to be a medicine ninja, then you can bounce this back to your hand so you can reuse it. Almost similar to the ability to reuse the Chidori and the Night Attack, but this card will actually go back to your hand. So your opponent might forget that you have it, and then when you use it, it's like, oh yeah, I forgot you have that. I forgot you added that back to your hand. Which is awesome. Unlike Night Attack and the Chidori card, your opponent will see it in your chakra area, so they know if you could use it or not. It'll be hard for them to forget when it's literally on the field, on the table, right? But this card, it'll be hard to remember or to even notice your opponent has it, because it'll literally be in their hand. So it'll be like a surprise. So you want to look for cards like that you can use more than once. That's what I do. So I'm just showing you some of the ones I like. But the popular ones, Fear by Genjutsu. This costs 3. You target every ninja battling against the user. Effect, the target becomes a standby ninja, which means you're not dealing no damage, you're not changing their status to injured. You're just putting them back into your opponent's village. So basically you're pushing them out of the fight. Your opponent attacks you with it, with the ninja. Let's say you decide you block. They play a Jutsu to make their ninjas really strong, or they play Jutsu to injure your head ninja or one of your ninjas. Then you play this in response, just to push all his ninjas back to his village. Now the battle's over. Once all the Jutsu's resolved, and you just made him waste a Jutsu. Because no battle continued, and all you have to do is just heal your ninja after the fact. But unless there's a rule that says, well, if the ninja goes from combat to standby, it no longer is no longer valid for the target of the Jutsu, then yes, you would basically negate the Jutsu that was played, because user, therefore it doesn't resolve. That's what I'm guessing. I don't know that for a fact at the current moment. In the near future, I'll probably find information that does state that. But I'm going to assume that the effect won't resolve in that scenario. But it probably does. Either way, it doesn't matter. But let's just say it doesn't resolve. So then you did a really good thing. Another popular Jutsu hydro pump. As you can see, this requires 3 wind chakra. So it's cheaper. It's still pricey, but it's cheaper than paying 4 of any color and or pay for it. So this is one of the few chakras that has a high cost. 4 is pretty high. 3 is already high, but 4 is definitely higher. And there's at least a couple chakra jutsus that have X, which means the cost can be way higher. There's actually a chakra that has 10, has a printed number 10. So that was interesting. But you're never gonna want to play those types of jutsus anyway. But 4 is already pricey enough for something generic. But you could pay 3 wind chakra in order for it to be cheaper. This doesn't go back to your hand, but it has the ability to target 2 ninjas, and then it moves them to their owner's hands. So instead of making them standby ninjas or injuring them or dealing them damage, you're literally throwing them back to your opponent's hand, which means it's going to take 2 more turns for your opponent to put those ninjas back onto the field. But by then you already have the field advantage. You have more ninjas than them. Whenever you're attacking, you will have more power than they do, so you deal more damage, which means you should get closer to winning in that scenario. This has the expert effect that if the ninja that used this jutsu has Puppet Master as a characteristic, discard the targets instead. So instead of sending the 2 ninjas back to your opponent's hand, you send them to the discard pile instead. So it's very good when you have that, when you get to use that part of the effect, the expert part. And there's other jutsus that have other little abilities. Expert tends to be one of the little add-on abilities that tend to pop up a lot, where if a ninja has a certain name or is a certain combat attribute or a certain characteristic, you get an added ability. So you definitely want to pay attention to those types of cards. They give you something extra, something more powerful, just because you're playing specific cards with them. Then it's always good to find, as you can see this has X, to find jutsus that have multiple effects, because you want them to be multi-purpose. It's just logical to have a card that can do more than one thing, because you never know what you need for what situation. You never know if you need to deal with a mission card, or deal with a jutsu, or deal with a client, or deal with a ninja. So the ability to do different things and target different things is always useful. So you want to look for jutsus like that. This is one relatively generic jutsu card that has about 3 effects based off of how much chakra you put into it. So if you pay 1 chakra, so right there it's already relatively cheap and it's generic, because it could be 1 of any chakra. You can get the ability of the user gets +0, so it gets no power, but it gets +2 support during this turn. So this will be typically used on a support ninja, a back ninja, in order to boost the power of your team for just 1 chakra. But if you pay 2 chakra for this card, make 1 Genin ninja battling against the user a standby ninja. So this is good for getting rid of any low rank ninjas, because there's Genin, Chunin, Sanin, and so forth and so forth. So this will help you get rid of a low rank ninja, turn into a standby ninja, so that way the power of the team will be weaker and allowing you to beat their team, or at least be able to defend against them if they attacked you when you played this. And then if you pay 3 chakra for this, give 1 damage to 1 ninja battling against you. So this has the ability to deal damage to a ninja, which hopefully the ninja is already injured, because then you would just make the ninja get discarded to the discard pile. So now only will it decrease the power of the team that that ninja is on, it will also 1 less ninja on the field, right? 1 less threat, especially if that ninja had an effect that you didn't like. You got rid of it, so now you don't have to deal with that effect no more. So very useful. Now, something else about this card is apply one of the following effects according to the number of chakras you discarded for this effect. If the user has a weapon combat attribute, you can add 1 to the number of the chakra that you discarded. So let's say when you did use this, your ninja that you use this with had weapon combat, which means you count 1 already, then you pay a chakra. So let's say you pay 1 chakra, your ninja has weapon combat, so right there that counts as 2, because it's 1 plus the 1. So that you can make the 1 Genin ninja battling against the user a standby ninja. But if you pay 2 chakra and your ninja has weapon combat, then it will count as 3. Therefore, you can use the give 1 damage to 1 ninja battling against the user. So yeah, I like that. So if you put this, in a deck where you have ninjas that have weapon combat attributes, like for example puppets, they're weapons. They have weapon combat attributes. So you can use this with them in order to pay 2 chakra and be able to deal 1 damage to 1 ninja battling against you. So you can see it could be cheaper to use this card if you have weapon. So if you meet the requirements, you can make it cheaper. So there's some ways to make some jutsus cheaper, but you typically want to go for the cheap jutsus anyway, because you gotta play cards for them to go into the chakra area and then use them to pay for the cost of the jutsus. So you want to be careful you're not charging cards from your hand like, oh, let me get rid of these 3 ninjas in order to play this 1 jutsu, because that right there's 4 cards you're using just for 1 moment, and now you're screwing yourself over. So that's why you want to pay less. You want to pay 1 or 2 chakra for 1 card, so that way you're using up at least 2 to 3 cards at most in a single moment. So you gotta think of that, the numbers of cards. So it's a numbers game. You don't want to lose advantage. That's why playing cards to let you draw is very helpful in that regards. I like using cards that lets me recycle my chakra from my discard pile, so that way I can just use them over and over again. That way I don't have to ever worry about not having enough chakra for my jutsus and not being able to play a jutsu because I don't have the chakra, and I don't have to give up hand advantage in the process. So personally, I don't like using jutsus, but I do have some jutsus that I like, of course, but I play a very, very low count of jutsus. I mainly play missions, but if you like using jutsus, these are some jutsus that I recommend. Give them a try. Of course, you probably have other ones you prefer, but this should give you a basic idea of the types of jutsus you can use to make your deck stronger, better, and have more fun. These cards definitely should give you an advantage against any opponent, even though an opponent that's very good at the game, because most of these cards have reusability. You can use them like let's say you used it at a certain time, and it might not have been the best time to use it, but you still used it, and it worked out in that situation. But eventually later you would have needed the card, and since you already used it, that's the inexperience aspect. You used it too early. But the good thing about cards that are reusable, like these jutsus that I recommend, it doesn't matter if you use them, if you use the jutsus early in the game, too early. You can use them again later, at late game. That's what I like, is not limiting myself to just picking the right time and timing everything and holding out the right moment to play a certain jutsu. I want to play Jutsu whenever I feel like it, whenever I feel it would give me the advantage at that moment in time. I don't want to wait for the right time. I want to use it when I feel it's beneficial to me, and then still be able to use it when I need to use it. And that's the end of the video.